Keanu Reeves never liked to make a big deal about owning the little cafe tucked away on the quiet side street of the city. The sign above the door simply read Hope's Brew, and most people passing by had no idea the famous actor had poured his heart and savings into this place for him. It was not just a business, but a quiet corner where strangers could feel at home, where stories blended with the warm smell of coffee and fresh bread. One rainy afternoon, Keanu stepped out of his black Jeep and stood under the soft drizzle, the scent of wet earth mixing with roasted coffee drifting from the cafe's open door. He loved coming in unannounced, blending in with the customers, listening to their stories, and sometimes helping out behind the counter when things got busy. But today, something caught his attention before he even stepped inside. By the far window, near the cracked brick wall, he saw a young boy hunched over a battered laptop, surrounded by crumpled receipts and a mug that hadn't been refilled in hours. His clothes were clean, but worn at the elbows, his hair shaggy like he hadn't had the money or time for a proper cut. Every few seconds, the boy would glance around the cafe, his eyes landing on the exit as if he was calculating if he could leave without paying. Keanu's single quotes' heart tightened. He knew that look too well years ago. Before the fame, before the millions, he too had counted his coins at greasy diners, hoping he could stretch a meal for 2 days. The memory stirred something deep inside him, an ache that never really left. Keanu wiped his wet boots on the mat and walked in quietly. The bell above the door gave a small, familiar chime. The barista, Maria, looked up and gave him a warm nod. She knew him only as Mr. K, the quiet owner who liked to stay behind the scenes. Keanu gave her a small wave, his eyes never leaving the boy by the window. As he walked closer, he heard snippets of the boy's whispered phone conversation. "Yeah, Ma, I know. I'm trying, okay? Landlord says if I don't pay by tomorrow, we're out. I'll figure it out. I promise." Keanu paused. His throat felt dry. The boy couldn't be more than 17 or 18. He had the same desperation Keanu once carried in his eyes when he was young and hungry, searching for his next job, his next chance. Keanu sat down at the table next to him. The boy flinched, surprised, quickly closing his laptop screen as if hiding something shameful. Keanu smiled, gentle and open. "Hey there, mind if I sit?" he asked softly. The boy shrugged, not looking up. "Sure, it's a free country." Keanu chuckled under his breath. "What's your name?" The boy shifted uncomfortably. "Devin." Keanu extended his hand. "Nice to meet you, Devin. I'm Keanu." The boy finally looked up, and his eyes widened for a split second, recognition flickering behind the tiredness. But he didn't say anything about the movies, the fame, the money. Instead, he lowered his eyes again. "You okay?" Keanu asked, his voice like warm honey, patient and kind. Devin shook his head. "Just life, you know," he muttered. "It's just rent. My mom, she lost her job. I've been picking up extra shifts at the car wash doing deliveries." But he trailed off, eyes shining with unshed tears he refused to let fall. Keanu felt something break inside him. He could see Devin's pride battling with the crushing reality of bills and broken promises. He remembered his mother, how she'd struggled to keep food on their table. He remembered the dark nights spent wishing anyone would give him a chance. He wanted to fix it right there, write a check, hand it over. But he knew too well that sometimes giving money wasn't what someone needed most. Sometimes they needed hope, respect, a path to stand on their own feet. "You hungry?" Keanu asked. Devin looked up, surprised. "I'm fine." His stomach betrayed him with a low growl that made his cheeks flush red. Keanu didn't say anything, just raised his hand and waved Maria over. "Maria, can you bring us 2 sandwiches, extra cheese, and refill his mug?" he asked, smiling at Devin. "Right away, Mr. K," she said. Devin's single quotes' eyes narrowed. "Mr. K, you own this place?" Keanu shrugged, his expression modest. "I just help keep the lights on." "But you're welcome here anytime." Devin laughed, bitterly. "Yeah, until I can't pay." Keanu leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Listen, Devin, you don't owe me anything. Just eat, rest. When you're ready, maybe I can help you figure things out." Devin stared at him, suspicion mixing with a tiny, fragile spark of hope. "Why would you help me?" Keanu's eyes softened. "Because someone helped me once, and it changed my life. Maybe you just need someone to do the same for you." The food arrived, warm and fragrant. Devin hesitated for a moment, then dug in like he hadn't eaten properly in days. Keanu watched quietly, letting the boy have his moment. He knew this was just the beginning. He could already feel the threads of their stories twisting together, weaving something bigger than either of them could see yet. Outside, the rain kept falling, washing the city clean. Inside, by the cracked brick wall and the soft hum of the café, hope took root in the heart of a boy who had almost forgotten what it felt like to believe that tomorrow could be better. Keanu knew this was why he'd built this café in the first place. Not for profit, but for moments like this when one warm meal, one kind word, could light up the darkness for someone on the edge. And as he sat there, watching Devin eat, Keanu felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, the quiet certainty that no matter how dark the world got, kindness would always find a way to shine through. The rain outside had turned into a steady drizzle, tapping gently against the cafe windows as if the world itself wanted to hush and listen to what was happening inside. Devin leaned back in his chair, wiping crumbs from the corner of his mouth. He looked like he wanted to say something, but the words got stuck halfway up his throat. Keanu leaned his elbows on the table, patient as ever. He had learned a long time ago that you couldn't force someone to open up. They needed to feel safe first. "So," Keanu said softly, "tell me about your mom. What's she like?" Devin fiddled with the empty coffee mug. "She's strong. She used to work 2 jobs, you know. She'd come home late. Still find time to help me with homework. After my dad left, it was just us." He paused, his eyes distant. "She got sick last year. Had to stop working. We burned through our savings fast. I thought I could handle it, but it's harder than I thought." Keanu nodded, his chest tight with old memories. "I know that weight. It can feel like it's pressing you into the ground, but you're still here. That says something about you, Devin." Devin scoffed, brushing hair from his eyes. "It says I'm stupid. I should have just let the landlord evict us. Mom keeps saying maybe we'd be better off at a shelter." "No one is better off at a shelter," Keanu said gently but firmly. "And you're not stupid. You're fighting for your family. That makes you braver than most people I know." Devin looked away, blinking hard. It had been a long time since anyone told him he was brave. Maria came by to clear the plates. She glanced at Keanu, eyebrows raised, silently asking if everything was all right. He gave her a small nod, and she walked away, leaving them with the soft clatter of dishes and the smell of fresh pastries baking in the kitchen. Keanu leaned back, studying Devin's hands, calloused and rough, a working boy's hands. "What kind of work have you done?" "Anything. Car wash, pizza delivery, unloading trucks. But I got laid off from the garage last week when they cut hours. Boss said he didn't need a kid slowing him down." Keanu felt anger simmer low in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "Ever work in a cafe?" Devin looked up, surprised. "No." "Want to learn?" Keanu asked, his eyes twinkling just a bit. Devin froze. "Are you serious?" "Very. We could use an extra pair of hands around here. You'll have to show up on time, work hard, and learn fast. You okay with that?" Devin's shoulders straightened. He looked like he wanted to jump across the table and hug Keanu, but didn't dare. Instead, his voice cracked when he said, "Yeah, I can do that. I swear I'll work hard." Keanu smiled, that small, warm smile that could make even the coldest day feel like spring. "Good. You start tomorrow. Maria will show you the ropes." "But what about rent? It's due tomorrow." Devin's voice shook again, the fragile hope threatening to crack under the weight of reality. Keanu thought for a moment. He didn't want to just hand the boy money. He knew how pride worked. He'd felt that sting himself once. So instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, faded envelope. He slid it across the table. "This is in advance on your first paycheck," Keanu said. "Just enough to cover what you owe. When you get paid for real, you can pay me back. Fair?" Devin stared at the envelope like it was a burning coal. "Why are you doing this for me?" he whispered. Keanu's single quotes, eyes softened. Because you remind me of me, and because I believe in second chances. Sometimes all someone needs is one door to open. Maybe this cafe can be that door for you. Devin picked up the envelope with shaking hands. I'll pay you back, every penny, and I'll work as many hours as you need. You won't regret this. Keanu reached across the table, laying his hand over Devin's. I know I won't. The bell above the cafe door rang, and a cold gust of air swept in as a new customer entered. The cafe returned to its normal hum, people chatting over coffee, the hiss of milk frothing, the warm glow of the lamps reflecting off the rain-soaked street. But for Devin, everything had shifted. Hope felt closer now, almost within reach. Keanu stood, clapping Devin lightly on the shoulder. Get your mom home safe tonight. Tell her things will get better. Tomorrow's a new start. Devin nodded, his eyes clearer than they'd been in months. He gathered his battered laptop, the envelope tucked safely into his pocket like a promised dot as Keanu watched him leave. He felt a quiet warmth bloom in his chest. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness could change the course of an entire life. He believed that. He'd seen it happen before. A chance given at the right time could turn darkness into light. And as he turned back toward the counter to help Maria with the evening rush, Keanu knew this was only the beginning for Devin. A boy with calloused hands, a tired smile, and a heart strong enough to carry hope through the storm. When Devin showed up the next morning, the cafe was already buzzing with its usual warmth. The early crowd was a mix of students hunched over textbooks, office workers waiting for their to-go cups, and old-timers who lingered at the same tables every morning, just to feel like they belonged somewhere. Keanu was there, of course, sleeves rolled up as he wiped down tables and greeted regulars by name. He spotted Devin standing nervously near the door, clutching a small backpack that had seen better days. Hey, you made it, Keanu called out, his voice light but carrying just enough weight to settle Devin's nerves a little. Yeah, I almost didn't, Devin admitted, stepping forward. My mom was scared it was some joke, like you'd change your mind. Keanu reached out, patting his shoulder. Well, you're here now. Let's prove her wrong. Maria came over, her apron dusted with flour. She gave Devin a once-over and nodded approvingly. You ready, kid? Hope you know how to sweep floors, wash mugs, and smile at cranky customers before they've had coffee. Devin let out a shaky laugh. Yeah, I can handle that. Good, Maria said, handing him an apron and a dish towel. You'll shadow me today. Watch, learn. Don't break anything expensive. Keanu watched them from behind the counter as Devin fumbled with tying the apron strings. There was an awkwardness in the boy's movements, but also a hunger to do well. That was something you couldn't teach. Hours slipped by, and Devin found himself swept up in a world he'd never known. He learned how to take orders with a smile, how to juggle mugs and plates, how to clean a spill without drawing too much attention. Maria barked instructions at him. Wipe with the grain, not against it. But there was a kindness in her sharp edges. Around lunchtime, Devin stood behind the register for the first time. His hands shook as he counted change for an older woman with silver hair and gentle eyes. She smiled at him like she could see right through the mask he wore. The one that said he was fine, that he didn't need help. First day, she asked. Yeah, Devin said, forcing a grin. Hope I don't mess up too bad. You'll be fine, dear, she said. Everyone has to start somewhere. When the lunch rush finally died down, Devin ducked into the back storage room. Leaning against a shelf stacked with bags of beans and sugar, his feet ached. His shoulders felt like they carried the weight of every coffee mug in the world. But, for the first time in months, he felt like maybe he was worth something more than an eviction notice. Keanu found him there a few minutes later. Hiding already? He teased. Devin wiped sweat from his brow. Just catching my breath. Keanu leaned against the opposite shelf, arms folded. How's it feel? It's good, Devin said quietly. Hard, but good. I don't feel so useless. Keanu's eyes softened. You were never useless. Remember that. Devin didn't know what to say. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Like he was more than a burden, more than a paycheck away from the street. They stood there in the quiet hum of the storage room, the smell of roasted beans thick in the air. Then Maria stuck her head in, scowling. "Are you gonna talk all day? The tables aren't gonna clear themselves." Keanu grinned, pushing off the shelf. "Yes, boss." Devin laughed, feeling something ease inside his chest. Something warm and unfamiliar. As the days passed, Devin fell into a rhythm. He learned people's orders by heart, started to catch Maria's jokes before they flew over his head, and found himself smiling for real when he handed a customer their cup. He still walked home every night bone-tired, but the heaviness that had lived in his chest for so long was starting to lift, piece by piece. One evening, when the cafe had emptied out and the neon open sign flickered off, Devin sat at a corner table counting the tips. Maria dropped into the chair across from him, wiping her hands on her apron. "Not bad for a rookie," she said, nodding at the small pile of bills and coins. Devin shrugged. "Feels weird, having money that I earned this way, not from begging the landlord to wait, not from running deliveries for pennies." Maria's face softened. "Work like this, it's honest. It gives you something to stand on. Don't ever feel weird about that." Keanu walked over, carrying 2 mugs of cocoa, steam curling up like a promise. He set one in front of Devin, then sat down. "How's your mom doing?" Keanu asked. Devin's smile faltered for a moment, then returned. "She's better. The landlord gave us an extra month after I paid. She wants to come by and thank you." Keanu shook his head. "She doesn't need to thank me. You're doing the work. You're the reason she's still got a roof." They sat there in the warm glow of the closing cafe, Maria, Devin, and Keanu, sipping cocoa, talking about everything and nothing outside. The city lights blinked in the darkness, cars hissed over wet pavement, and the world kept turning. But inside Hope's Brew, one young man was slowly remembering what it felt like to believe that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't alone anymore. Spring came early that year. A soft breeze carried the smell of blooming flowers and fresh rain into the cafe. Every time the door swung open, Devin had been working at Hope's Brew for almost 2 months now. Each day, he showed up before the sun had fully risen, tying his apron with steady hands and greeting Maria with a shy grin. Keanu watched him grow into the work. Day by day, Devin still made mistakes, a dropped mug here, a mixed-up order there, but he learned from every slip. More than that, he was changing in ways that no spilled coffee could stain. His shoulders were straighter, his eyes brighter. He was becoming someone who believed in tomorrow. But not everyone shared that warmth. One Thursday afternoon, while the lunch crowd buzzed and the espresso machine hissed, a man in a crisp suit pushed through the cafe doors. He paused by the counter, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on Devin wiping down a table. Keanu, standing near the pastry case, caught the cold look in the man's eyes. Something in his gut tightened. "Devin McCarthy," the man called out, his voice loud enough to hush the nearby chatter. Devin looked up, the color draining from his face. "Mr. Carson." Keanu stepped forward, brows whereupon. "Friend of yours, Devin." Mr. Carson laughed, though the sound was more ice than warmth. "Friend? Hardly. I'm his former landlord." He turned his sharp gaze on Devin. "Funny seeing you here, boy. Thought you'd be long gone by now." Devin clenched the rag in his hand, his knuckles white. "We paid you. I paid what we owed. You paid the rent." "Sure, Mr. Carson sneered. "But what about the damages? The broken pipe that flooded my basement because your mother forgot to call the plumber? You think that fixes itself?" Maria stepped out from behind the counter, eyes narrowed. "Hey, this isn't the place for that. If you've got a problem, take it up somewhere else." Mr. Carson ignored her, his eyes locked on Devin, pinning him in place. "You owe me $300 more, boy. Your mother signed for it. You think you can hide out here, washing cups for pocket change?" Devin's face turned pale. He looked down at the floor, shame burning through him like acid. Keanu could see it, the fear crawling back, undoing all those weeks of progress. Keanu stepped forward, his voice low but firm. "Mr. Carson, this is my cafe. You don't get to come in here and humiliate one of my people. If you have an issue, give me the paperwork and we'll talk." Mr. Carson snorted. Your people? Please, this punk is a lost cause, like his mother, always looking for handouts. You think giving him a mop and a paycheck makes him anything more than a charity case? Devin flinched. The word charity stabbed deeper than any debt ever could. Keanu's single quotes' jaw tightened. Leave, now, or what, mister? Carson shot back. You'll call your lawyers? Big movie star playing hero in a coffee shop. Cute. The cafe had gone silent. Customers pretended to sip their drinks, but all eyes were on the confrontation, unfolding by the pastry case. Keanu stepped closer, his calm voice cutting through the tension. You can wait outside for your payment, or you can leave empty-handed, but you will not insult him in my house, mister. Carson sneered, but the cold fire in Keanu's eyes made him think twice. He tossed an envelope on the counter. Final notice. You've got 2 weeks. He turned to Devin, his voice dripping with venom. Don't think you're off the hook just because you've got a famous face to hide behind. He stormed out, the door banging shut behind him. Devin sank onto a stool, his hands trembling. I swear, I didn't know, Keanu. I thought I'd paid everything. I wouldn't have. Keanu crouched down in front of him, placing a steady hand on Devin's knee. Hey, breathe. This is not your fault. Pipes break. Life happens. You did what you could. We'll figure this out together. Maria placed a mug of hot tea in front of Devin, her touch surprisingly gentle. Sip this. Settle down. He's just a bully. Bullies get loud when they feel small. Devin's eyes glistened. Why do you care so much? I'm not worth all this trouble. Keanu felt something old and raw rise up in him, a memory of a younger version of himself. Hearing those same cruel words, he spoke them slowly, so Devin would hear every syllable. You are worth every bit of this. You are not broken because you need help. Everyone needs help sometimes. For a long moment, Devin just sat there, staring at his hands wrapped around the mug. Then, without looking up, he whispered, I don't want you to pay it. I want to fix it myself. Keanu's chest swelled with quiet pride. Then you will. You're learning fast here. You'll get more hours. We'll find other ways too. We can talk about tutoring, side gigs. You won't do this alone. Devin nodded, a tear slipping down his cheek. He didn't bother to wipe it away this time. It was the first time he'd let someone see him break, and it didn't scare him like it used to. Outside, the afternoon sun broke through the gray clouds, flooding the cafe with light. It caught the dust motes in the air, turning them to tiny stars. And in that tiny cafe, where coffee met hope, a boy who had once believed he was nothing but a burden began to realize he might just be something more, something worth standing up for, worth fighting for, worth believing in. The days after Mr. Carson's visit tested Devin in ways he hadn't imagined. Every morning, he woke before dawn, rolled out of his thin blanket on the living room floor, and tiptoed past his mother's door, making sure she was still resting peacefully. He'd slip his only pair of work shoes on, careful not to wake the neighbors in the tiny apartment building that seemed to groan every time someone took a step. By the time he arrived at Hope's Brew, the street lamps still glowed against the early mist, and the world was quiet enough to make Devin feel like he could breathe. It was his favorite time, before the orders, the crowds, the memories of a landlord's sneer. Just him, the smell of fresh ground beans, and the low hum of Maria and Keanu's voices as they prepared for another day. Keanu had quietly doubled Devin's hours. He never said the word charity, never handed Devin an envelope and called it a favor. Instead, he found ways for Devin to help, repainting the storage room walls, organizing the cluttered shelves, even walking to the market at dawn to fetch fresh fruit when the delivery truck broke down. Every hour counted toward that $300 Devin owed, and every shift reminded him that he wasn't alone in this fight. One evening, long after the cafe had closed and the last crumbs had been swept away, Devin found himself sitting across from Keanu at the corner table by the window. The neon sign outside buzzed softly, casting their faces in a gentle red glow. Devin's hands were raw from scrubbing pots, but he felt a spark of pride in every crack of his skin. How's your mom? Keanu asked, sipping his herbal tea. He'd given up coffee hours ago. Something Devin still found funny. The man owned a cafe but rarely drank the stuff after sunset. Better, Devin said. I talked to the social worker like you said. She found a program that might help cover her medicine. It's a lot to figure out, but at least there's someone helping now. Keanu nodded, his eyes warm. Good. You've done all this, Devin. You. Devin's eyes fell to the folded piece of paper he kept in his pocket. The final notice. Every time he looked at it, he felt that old fear crawl back. But he also felt something stronger now, a kind of stubborn hope that told him he could pay it. He would pay it. He hesitated before speaking. You know, I've been thinking. I can't just keep working these shifts forever. I mean, I love it here. I really do. But I want more for Mom. And for me too. Keanu leaned forward, elbows resting on the table. What do you have in mind? Devin shifted in his seat. I've been looking into night classes. Maybe something in computers. There's a place downtown that helps kids like me get a certificate. If I get that, maybe I can find a real job. One that pays more than minimum wage. Keanu's lips curved into a small, proud smile. You want to learn. That's the best thing you can do. You should go for it. But I'd still work here, Devin added quickly. I mean, I don't want to just leave. You gave me a chance when no one else would. Keanu shook his head, chuckling softly. You don't owe me anything, Devin. The whole point was to help you find your feet so you could stand on your own. If this cafe is just a stepping stone, then that's exactly what it should be. Devin felt a lump rise in his throat, the good kind that made him blink fast so the tears wouldn't fall. You ever feel scared? Like, what if it doesn't work out? Keanu's eyes went distant for a moment, remembering all the times he'd faced that same question. Every single time I take a chance, I feel scared. Fear means you care about what you're doing, but you do it anyway. Just then, Maria poked her head out from the kitchen, rolling her eyes. You'd have done with your heart-to-heart. Some of us would like to lock up and go home before sunrise. Keanu grinned, tossing his napkin onto the table. Yes, boss. As they closed up that night, Devin felt something new settle in his bones. It wasn't just survival anymore. He was building something, maybe small, maybe fragile, but real. A plan, a dream. And for the first time, he believed he deserved it. The next day, Devin found a small envelope taped to his locker in the back. Inside was a simple note written in Keanu's careful handwriting. Proud of you. One step at a time. K. There was also a small card for a local learning center, the one Devin had mentioned. With the number circled in blue ink. Devin stood there, staring at the note, his fingers brushing the paper like it was a treasure. He slipped it into his pocket, right next to the final notice, two pieces of paper, one a threat, the other a promise, but now he knew which one had more power. When he stepped back into the cafe that morning, apron tied tight around his waist, Devin felt the same fear that had chased him for so long. But now, he felt something stronger walking beside it. Hope. And hope, Devin decided, was louder than fear. Summer crept into the city like a soft promise, warming the streets and bringing a gentle hum to every corner. At Hope's Brew, the sun spilled through the big windows each morning, catching on the little chalkboard sign that Devin now updated every day with funny quotes and tiny doodles that made customers smile. It had been 3 months since the day Devin first sat at that window table, fighting to hide his hunger and his fear. Now, he moved through the cafe with a quiet confidence. His apron still had coffee stains. His shoes were still old and scuffed, but there was a steadiness in him that couldn't be washed away by any ragged laces or spilled. Lattes. The final notice had been paid off in full. Devin had counted out every dollar of that debt with shaking hands, passing it to Mr. Carson one early morning before the cafe opened. The landlord had sneered, muttered something about luck running out, but Devin just smiled. He had seen real luck, and it wasn't about chance. It was about people who showed up when the world told you no. Keanu stood by the register that day, arms folded, watching the quiet exchange. When Devin came back inside, his eyes bright and clear. Keanu didn't say anything at first. He just pulled him into a quick hug, clapping him hard on the back. It was the kind of hug a father might give, proud but gentle, leaving Devin both embarrassed and grateful all at once. Days rolled by, and Devin's life settled into something steady, but not small. Every night after closing, he stayed at the Café an extra hour, working on online lessons for his computer certificate. Maria teased him about being a nerd, but she also brought him warm muffins from the morning's leftovers, sliding them onto the table without a word. Keanu checked his progress when he could, offering encouragement, sometimes helping him puzzle through tricky problems. One evening, when the café was lit by strings of soft fairy lights, for an open mic night, Devin's mom came by for the first time. She stepped inside slowly, her eyes wide with wonder at the cozy warmth, the chatter, the smell of cinnamon and fresh espresso. She found Devin behind the counter, wiping down mugs with Maria. Her eyes filled with tears when she saw him, standing tall in that apron, laughing at Maria's bad jokes. Keanu stepped forward before Devin could rush to her side. He spoke softly, introducing himself not as the movie star, but as the cafe's quiet owner, the one who'd given her son a place to stand when the ground fell away. "You have a good boy," Keanu said to her. "He works hard. He's kind. He reminds me that sometimes we all just need someone to believe in us." Devin's mom hugged him so tight he thought his ribs might crack. She thanked Keanu, her voice breaking, but he just shook his head. "Thank him," he said, nodding toward Devin. "He did this." He kept going. As the months passed, Devin finished his certificate. The cafe threw him a little party. Maria baked a lopsided cake that said "You did it, nerd," in wobbly icing. Keanu gave a small toast, holding up a paper cup of black coffee, saying how Hope's Brew wasn't just a place for caffeine, but for fresh starts. Devin found a job downtown fixing old computers and helping folks who didn't know a motherboard from a toaster. He still came by the cafe every week to pick up shifts, not because he had to, but because it felt like home. When his first paycheck came in, he slid a crisp bill across the counter to Maria. "What's this?" she asked, scowling like she might smack him with the dish towel. "Repaying my advance," Devin said, smiling wide. "Keanu told me I'd know when I was ready." Maria rolled her eyes, but her voice cracked a little when she said, "You better keep coming back. You hear me? I need someone to mess up the napkin stacks." When Keanu returned from a short trip, Devin was waiting for him at the same window table where it had all begun. He stood up, handed him an envelope, the final part of what he owed. But inside was something more, a photo of Devin and his mom standing outside their apartment, keys in hand, a small thank you scrawled on the back. Keanu didn't say anything at first. He just pulled Devin into that same proud hug, holding tight, like a promise. And as the cafe doors swung open to another morning rush, students, tired workers, old-timers who loved to sit by the window, Devin took his place behind the counter for his last regular shift. He handed out coffee, wiped tables, and smiled at every stranger who walked in because he knew, deep down, what it meant to feel like someone cared if you stayed or left. Hope's Brew stayed the same. A little cafe on a quiet street, its sign painted simple and its mugs chipped in places. But inside, it carried stories like Devin's, stories that reminded everyone that kindness can break through the hardest nights, that second chances come in unexpected shapes, and that sometimes, all it takes is one open door, one cup of coffee, and one person who believes you're worth more than your mistakes. And as Keanu watched Devin walk out into the warm sun, his future tucked safely in his pocket, he felt that old truth settle in his bones again. Hope isn't just something you give, it's something you grow, cup by cup, person by person.